Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Dr. J from LearnGenics. How is everyone doing today? Hopefully, you're all good. And just making sure we have good audio quality. Anyway, welcome. And so, we're today in this webinar session. We're talking about the learning battle cards, getting to know these cards. It's a set of cards. We're talking about the second edition. Oops, I think it's a little bit. Second edition of the cards, and I'm very excited to talk about them. So I'm Dr. J, founder of LearnGenics, a learning and development solutions company. The learning battle cards is actually we partnered up with them to provide. It's a partnership with Learning Battle Cards. They're actually based out in Europe, and they're a really cool set of cards. I remember when they had their first edition a couple years back, and I was really in love with the cards. And you can see here, it's like literally like a deck of cards, about 110 of them. And I really liked the first edition, so I reached out to them, seeing how we can talk and stuff. And I'm honestly like, this is the second edition. And the second edition is actually really cool, and I'll talk about that edition. So the learning battle cards and why you should have a set of learning battle cards, especially if you're an instructional designer, an instructor, if you're in the learning and development arena, you definitely need these set of cards for a variety of reasons, and I'll explain that. And hopefully, after this whole conversation that we're having, you get your deck of cards, and we can definitely. There's a lot of things you could do with these deck of cards, whether it's by yourself or with a group of individuals as well. So of course here you can see the learning battle cards is a pocket-sized cards describing a variety of forms of learning, right? So it has over 100. It has 110 ways of learning, and of course, really innovative forms of different styles of learning in a variety of arenas, right? Um, and so as you can see here, it of course, these cards have its acronym, name, icon, and a tag cloud, which defines a method. And so when you look at each card, this of course, here's an example, here's a picture. You not only are you getting for example, the style of learning, but you're also getting the cloud, for example, in the first phase, like, okay, this is what kind of goes with the style of learning. And of course, um, the way that you can learn more about how you can implement that in their learning environment, right? So let's look at the method, right? So the learning battle cards method is really to expand the blended learning design mindset. It's really just another set of tools for the learning environment, right? And what the cool thing about it is that is because there are so many of these methods, right? It really helps you just to help you focus on how can I implement a better learning environment or enhance the learning environment that I'm currently in. You know, many times, right now we're in the 21st century, really after post COVID now, um, learning has changed for forever, in my opinion, right? We're really not, um, we're really going through various different times of learning. And today's learner, right, is being face to face all the time, learning just lecture style is gone. Whether you're teaching in K-12, higher ed, adult learners, and accelerator programs, whatever it is, the environment has definitely changed. And so, what these learning battle cards will be able to do is give you a set of learning methods that you can implement into your learning environment. I don't know your learning environment, you know it best more than I do. But whatever the cards can do is you can look at them and say, okay, maybe I can implement this into my learning environment. Now, of course, these cards are not the end all be all, but it's a good way to start, right? And again, it gets the best out of learning methods for your specific project. It also has learning experiences approach, right? We're creating different learning experiences for the learners, using different activities to engage the learners. Again, it could be with or without a moderator, in teams, pairs, or communities. And what the great thing about this, like, again, the best way to get out of this is to actually talk with. So if you're an instructional designer, right, and you've been tasked with redesigning or designing a new classroom environment or new course, whatever, in higher ed or accelerator, whatever it may be, you as the instructional designer talking with the subject matter expert, you'll be able to use these deck of cards, be like, okay, do we want to implement the discussion in this? Do we want to implement a movie? Do we, do we have demonstrations? Do we have an ebook, right? And of course, I'm talking about all these because they're part of the cards. And so it's just a way of, okay, does it really help enhance the learning environment that we're in, right? So that's what the awesome thing about these cards will do. So here are just some examples of the learning experience. Again, there's 110 of them. I'm not going to go through all of them. There's just so many of them. And so again, here, you can look at these set of cards. Case study, people learn by analyzing a case study. Is a case study good for your learning environment, right? If you're teaching an MBA, if you're an instructional designer for an MBA program, or college business, an MBA program, typically, right, in MBA programs, there's a case studies. So you look at case study, if you're analyzing a case study, or in the different programs, right? Are you looking at team assignments, right? Is a team assignment best for your learning environment? And you'll be able to look at the card and see, okay, what's the different styles? How much, as an educator, what's the process? Is this good for a synchronous, asynchronous environment, and so on and so on. So if you look at the card, so that's the front of the card, right? Or I'm holding one as well. You can look at the card, or it has a symbol, right, to give it, so it's shortened as an acronym, the name of the method, the icon, so there's an added icon there, and a tag cloud. What's really cool about these set of cards is that there is a tag cloud associated with it, right? So it's a set of terms that can be associated with the card, right? So for example, if we're looking here at the implementation task, you can see here, conclusions, and we talk about practice, we talk about experiences, effectiveness. So this tag cloud is really a set that could be associated with the implementation task. So that's really cool about this. And of course, every card has that. Now, when you look at the back of the card, right, let's look at the back of the card. You can see, of course, it still has a symbol, it has a name. And of course, there's a little set right there that's for usefulness, right? If you see, it's that, the skills, knowledge, attitudes, awareness, analysis, implementation, measurement. The usefulness, and so for this card, for the usefulness is highlighted in purple. The recommendation of using the method at different key areas of the project, right? So for example, in this case, the implementation task, you want to use it when it comes to skills and implementation. So if your learning and development project is focused on skills and implementation, this probably is a really good one. I mean, implementation task, of course, you're going to implement it, right? If you look at the top right-hand corner of specifics, right, the place of the method in typical categorizations used in education. So is this going to be used in a synchronous environment, an asynchronous environment? Is this going to be with peers, self-learning environment, formal, informal? So it highlights where it's best to use this environment in, right? The QR code is a kind of a new thing used with the second edition. The QR code is to link some additional knowledge about the method. So you can highlight that QR code, and you can definitely learn more about that, if you're not 100% familiar with it. Now, of course, you may not be 100% familiar with all of the methods, right? There's some new methods that even when I looked at this, I was like, oh, wow, I didn't know about this. Let me learn more about it. And of course, the QR code will make it easy for you. Just to scan it and you learn more about it. At the bottom portion of it is the power bars. The power bars is defined parameters which show the power of the card with reference to 5 practical areas. So the production effort, how much production. So it shows how much time you're going to need. For example, as the educator, how much production effort or production time are you going to have to implement if you're going to use this specific method, right? The process, the learning power of the training, how much engagement, difficult of use. So don't be too, like, for example, the power bars. If the power bars are all the way highlighted, it's going to take a lot of production effort. Don't be scared about using it just because the production effort is really high, right? We want to make it the best use of a learning environment. You don't want to be scared off just because the power bars are high when it comes to production effort or engagement, or difficulty of use. If it's good for the environment, if it's good for the learning environment, then use it. Don't be scared not to use it. Um, Another thing, even more inspirations from the card, right? Again, example. So, for example, if you were using a movie, right, movie card, if you're going to use movie in your learning environment, just here's some examples of ways that you can use this specific learning tool in your learning environment. Ask learners to make a movie interactive. Ask learners to find an example of a specific in movies, right? Give learners access to the movie library. Tell the story in the movie form. So again, there's so many different ways of using this cards to come up with different learning methods in it, right? Again, use the card, use the cloud words. How can I implement this card into the learning environment? I think one of the best ways that if you're going to use these cards is come with the mindset of, okay, I need to design a specific classroom, right? I need to design a course for undergraduates. Having already come with the mindset of I need to design or redesign the specific classroom or specific course, whatever it may be, coming with that mindset already is going to make the battle cards even much more easier to use. So how can you put it in action? There are different ways of putting it in action, and definitely I encourage you all to reach out to me on learngenics.com. And I'm also going to put my email in the chat box. You could definitely reach out as to ways that we can engage with the learning battle cards. But one of the ways that definitely um, you can do it in action is, again, there's a variety of ways, right? You can use it as a team or you could use it by yourself. One of the best ways to get the best out of these learning battle cards is a team environment, right? So once you have your team, right, you can gather up in a team, choosing the card I would like to know better about, looking for inspiration for a given project, using the card to discuss an LOD project, um, or to educate the learning and development team about a specific card or cards. So one of these processes, especially if you're with a group, right? And there's different methods, but I'm just gonna go over just one example of it, right? So for this one, for the new path, right, you're gonna need learning battle cards for every person in the group. One of the best ways, if it's possible, it's best that every single person has their own deck of cards. I really encourage everyone to have their own deck of cards. When going through this assignment, this new path, for example, new paths, it just makes it easier for everyone to have it and not share it around, because you don't want these cards to get lost. You don't want someone to have doubles of it, or just everybody should have their own set of cards with them. If you contact me, I can definitely give you a discount code where you can get these cards. But I highly encourage you, if you're going to use this, everyone should have their own deck of cards. And so in this new pass, of course, you need your deck of cards and a flip chart. This new pass is exercise. So of course, you're designing a new project with new ideas and methods. So see here, the members will be acting in two roles, the explorers and the reviewers. And you can see here the process, right? You're going to the team to choose a reviewer. Of course, you discuss it, ask the explorers to review the cards with the goal to bring new learning and development ideas to the project. So you should have a project in mind, and of course, what the goal is to bring new learning and development ideas. So how can we make this classroom, this environment, much enhance it? Um, and of course, the reviewers writes down all the ideas in a flip chart and works them out. At the end, the team decided which ideas would be taken into consideration during the ideation stage. So really, you're really kind of talking shop in this method. Here's a project. Here's ways. Here's the different cards. How could we enhance this learning environment? And presenting it to the team, is it best for the learning environment? Um, I think one of the best ways too is making sure you know who the learner is, what the project is all about, to best come with this new path, this new project. It is do consider at least a minimum of an hour up to 2 hours, because it's going to be a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth. Um, and of course, you should have at least 2 to 4 people during this process. It's best to do it in person, but maybe you could also as well do it online. Again, this is just one method. There are plenty of other ways of doing it, right? So next steps as to what to do now. Get in contact. Here's the email address. Let's stay connected. You definitely use these learning battle cards. If you want a set of cards, you can go, of course, learningbattlecards.net. If you want a discount code, please shoot me an email. Tell me that you watched this webinar, you heard about it, and I'll definitely send you out a discount code for it. I had, again, if you're in instructional design or the learning and development field, these deck of cards will really give you new and inspiring ideas for your learning environment. It makes it easier, it gives you ideas, it makes you become innovative, and it's really just handful, right? It's just it's really convenient for you just to carry these deck of cards with you, and just come up with new inspiring ideas. Again, it's really great. I highly encourage you to get your deck of cards, reach out to me, let's have a conversation, and have this new learning battle cards in your hands. Oops, there you go. Right. Thank you all for joining me today. Feel free to contact me and let's have the conversation. Have a good one.